Hey everybody, this is part of our full-length primetime podcast. You can check it out on Blog Talk Radio, iTunes, YouTube, plenty more. I hope you enjoy.
This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, everybody? Ricky Widmer here, along with the one, the only, Brandon Swanson.
Hey.
And we are back for another edition of the Primetime Podcast here on Most Valuable Podcasts. If you are on YouTube, hello, guys. It is wonderful to see you yet again. If you're on Blog Talk Radio, iTunes, or Stitcher, thank you, guys. It is great to be talking to you guys, lending our knowledge. Hit your beautiful eardrums in your earlobes, in your ear, your cartilage. That's kind of how the ear works. Thank you guys for the download and the listen today. But Brandon, how you doing? How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you, Ricky?
Did you like the anatomy lesson? Cartilage, earlobes, eardrums. That's kind of how it works in there.
Yeah, you're really smart.
Yeah, I am. I'm a smart cookie. But today we're getting down to the nitty gritty here, and I just wanted to say, I thought about for a second maybe touching the Miles Bridges story today. I thought the fast break, we touched it there. We don't need it. We're going to save that for basketball season because guess what, Brandon? Guess what time it is? It's football time. We're talking football here on the Primetime Podcast. That's all we're going to probably do from now until eternity. And we got 2017 speculations to go. We're going to look at USC. Can Sam Darnold bring them to the promised land this year? We're going to look at Texas. Should Shane Buechele be the starting quarterback? And then we're going to look at Michigan and their playoff hopes in 2017. But Brandon, let's just get into it. I want to start with the USC Trojans, who they had their spring game this weekend. Sam Darnold going to be their starting quarterback, and I am just going to lay it nice and thick on for you. Can Sam Darnold lead USC to the playoffs this season? Because he is already the leader for the Heisman in the preseason.
Yes, he can, without a doubt. From the Arizona State game last season to the Cal game, he had 16 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 16 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. In the Penn State game in the Rose Bowl, he had over 450 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 interception. This guy, if he would have been their quarterback, their starting quarterback all season long, this could have been a playoff team. These guys started off slow. They went with Max Brown. Brown was the guy who we thought was going to get it, going to run with it. He did not.
Remember when we made that video about, what is this, Max Brown's coming out party?
Yeah.
We obviously did not do our research on Sam Darnold because he took the job and he just hit the ground running for the Trojans last season.
Well, obviously USC didn't do enough research on it either. Otherwise, they would have had him as their starter.
From day one.
They didn't have him as the starter until week 4 of the season at Utah. So I think that this kid is really something special, and I think it's really exciting because that was just year one. That was year one of Sam Darnold, and he had over 3,000 yards, 31 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Very, very good. Very, very efficient. I think that the loss of Juju Smith-Schuster, it could affect them. That's a big target. But I think that this is still going to be an offense and a team that is going to be very exciting because of what he can do at the quarterback position.
Yeah, and with me, I want to say my answer for this question when I first was thinking about it was, of course. Of course, Sam Darnold can lead this team to the playoff, could lead them to the national championship. Basically, the sky's the limit. But, Brandon, as I like to do, I like to look at things and kind of bring up what could be. And I want to bring something up for you. I want to bring up 2 different stats, quarterback A and quarterback B. You ready for this? Quarterback A had a yards that season, had just over 3,500 yards. He threw for 39 touchdowns, 7 INTs, had a quarterback rating of 161.2. Quarterback B had just over 3,000 yards, 31 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, quarterback rating of 61.1. Do you have any idea who quarterback A and quarterback B are? They're both Trojans.
Ricky, quarterback B is Sam Darnold.
Quarterback B is Sam Darnold. Do you have any idea who quarterback A is, though?
In the same season?
Not the same season.
Matt Leinart.
Not Matt Leinart. 2000. This season that he did this well was 2011. He was the starter for the USC Trojans. It was his junior year, so he wasn't exactly like Darnold. He wasn't a freshman. He was a junior in 2011, having these numbers of 39-7 touchdown to interception ratio.
Who was that?
A lot of people thought he was going to come out that year.
Oh, who was that?
And then he came back for a clunker of a senior season.
I can't think of his name.
He played for the Bears this year. Sparkle Barkles.
Matt Barkley. Yep.
And that's the thing. That's the thing I want to bring up. And I know Trojan fans are going to kill me. They're going to say, you know what? Sam Darnold is different. This team is different. But I looked at these numbers, Brandon, and I went, we all thought that Matt Barkley was going to be, you know what? He had such a great junior season. If he would have came out, he would have been a top pick in the NFL draft. Then his senior season happened, and nothing was the same for Matt Barkley after that. Am I saying Sam Darnold is going to have that exact thing happen? No, because one of the things I actually do think that Sam Darnold's going to have a really good sophomore season. Like I said, this is a different team than Matt Barkley had. But I mean, I look at that and I go, we can't totally just write that off of, hey, you know what? It's a different team. It's a different quarterback. I mean, Jordan Cameron was a tight end that left that USC team in 2011. And I'm trying to look to see if he lost any wide receivers. The big one was David Ashbury, who wasn't really that big. So that's the thing that was even more, that's even going to throw a bigger wrench into this. Darnold lost a weapon. You named him in Juju Smith-Schuster. Matt Barkley didn't lose any weapons. And still, well, Jordan Cameron, I would say, was the biggest weapon he lost. But there was still that fall off. Should USC fans maybe, what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe superstition's the word I'm going to lean on, but should USC fans go, hey, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's wait and see what happens this season, because we all got hyped up once for Matt Barkley, and then he had a clunker of a senior season. It could happen again. Should they worry about that?
I don't think so. I don't think that you want to really look at what has happened in the past and say, oh no, this is going to happen again. I think that you have to be excited. I mean, honestly, you have to be excited. You have to be excited by the thought that, wow, you may have a quarterback for the future right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is just what he did as a freshman. You mentioned that. His stats were outstanding. But you know what he showed? Not just stats, leadership. What did he show in that Rose Bowl game? Huge leadership. He had to come back. They were down. They were down by a lot, by a couple of scores. You could have had a team that just rolled over and said, it was fun. We got here. We tried hard. We played hard, and we're going to get our participation trophy at the end. But nice job, Penn State. They didn't do that. Mm-hmm. And that's under a freshman quarterback's leadership. And when you have something like that, when you have that type of leadership, I think that's huge. That's impressive, and that's what would have me as a USC fan very excited for next year, very excited for the year after, and praying to God he stays the year after that.
Well, let's be honest. He's probably not going to, after this year, if Darnold has a great year, he's probably going to leave because he'll probably be the number one pick in the 2018 NFL draft. But I just want to throw out some more similarities between the Matt Barkley junior season and the Sam Darnold freshman season. And you look at the only 2 losses that Matt Barkley had that season was a 21-point loss to Arizona State on the road and a triple overtime loss against number 6 Stanford. They beat everyone else. One of the teams that they did beat, and I'm going to use this as a comparison going over, they went on the road and they beat number 4 Oregon on the road, who was the number 4 team at the time. If we look last year, who's a big top team? They lose to Stanford. Funny thing is, Stanford was ranked 6th when they beat Barkley that year. They were 7th when they beat the Trojans. The Alabama game I'm not even looking at because, like you said, Darnold wasn't in that game. But they go to Washington, the number 4 team. Number 4 team in that conference, in the nation. They go into Washington and they win. If history repeats itself, Brandon, guess who then beat the Trojans the year after? The Oregon Ducks. Now, I'm not saying just because the Ducks did it back then that the Huskies are going to do it this year, but the thing you got to look at, and this is the big similarity that I think between Barkley and Darnold, and it's going to be, we haven't seen how Darnold is going to kind of measure this. There's going to be a target on USC's back. Yes, I know they didn't win the Pac-12. They didn't get a chance to play in the Pac-12 title game. They didn't go to the college football playoff. But guess what? You're already coming into this season with high hopes. You have a quarterback who is leading the Heisman race, and last year's Heisman came back this year. That's how good Sam Darnold is. Lamar Action Jackson is coming back this year, and he's number 2 behind Sam Darnold in the early Heisman race for the preseason. So I look at this. You've got Western Michigan to start it off. Am I saying there's going to be an upset there? No. But Western Michigan is a team that, they lost P.J. Fleck, but that's a team that's looking to prove themselves. Stanford beat you last year. I think with a Darnold, you beat them. Texas, that's your first, to me, major game because that is a completely different team. Completely. We're going to talk about them in the second segment. They are a completely different team than last year just because of the addition of Tom Herman on that team. I think this Texas team is going to be vastly different than they were last year. Then you got some big ones. Notre Dame on the road. Do I think Notre Dame's going to do anything? No. But hey, they could play up. They could play up and maybe do a little better, but I wouldn't say they would. The 2 big opponents after that is I'm looking at Colorado, I'm looking at UCLA. And there's one opponent that you're probably like, Ricky, you left off, and that's Washington. That's because Washington's not on the schedule this year because they rotate from the other division. But get this. If USC can get through everybody, who would you right now, if you had to put USC in the Pac-12 title game, who would you just by default right now put them going up against from the other division? It would be the Washington Huskies. You're telling me if the Huskies got that one more chance to play the Trojans, that Jake Browning's not going to play up for that? I look at Jake Browning, if they find a way to play them in the Pac-12 title game, and that's a big if, he's going to play up for that game. UCLA, Josh Rosen, I cannot wait for the Bruin Trojan game because Josh Rosen is going to hear all year in his head, Sam Darnold, how great is Sam Darnold, how great is Sam Darnold, how great is Sam Darnold. I feel like Rosen's going to play up for that game no matter what record UCLA has at that time. The big thing that Sam Darnold and USC have to do is there's going to be a bullseye on your back this year. You got to fend that bullseye. You got to fend off the foes. If you can do that, you'll get to the college football playoff. If you have slip-ups, though, then you might slip and you might fall. I look at Stanford, Texas, Colorado, UCLA. Those are the big 4 games this year for the Trojans.
Stanford, Texas.
Then Colorado and UCLA down at the bottom. Those are the big ones. The rest of them, I think they could win even with an average Darnold in that game. Doesn't need to be extraordinary. Could just beat the rest on average mode.
I want to be able to say that Notre Dame could be an interesting game, but who knows?
We don't know what's going to happen with them this year. They're a completely different topic. They're a completely different tangent altogether.
But that's what I'm saying is, we don't know what's going to happen with any of these teams, but we're just making predictions. So I'd like to predict that Notre Dame game is going to be much more entertaining than any game that Notre Dame would have played last year. But I think that there will definitely be some competitive games, and I'm interested to see how Sam Darnold responds at the beginning of the season after having such an outstanding ending to the season last year with that awesome Rose Bowl game, with that awesome final drive to lead to the winning field goal. I'm interested to see how he responds at the beginning of this season. Can he pick up right where he left off? Is it going to take him a little bit of time to do it? Is he going to be the guy that we're expecting him to be? And Ricky, as of right now, I would say all signs point to yes, he will be. But we'll have to see. I think that this schedule will be interesting. I don't know. Utah a couple of years back, they were a team that people were talking about that they were doing good. They had a slow season last year, 5-4 within the conference, not good. Went undefeated outside of conference, but it didn't matter. Stanford fell off last year. Texas, we don't know really what type of team they're going to be. Don't even know if Shane Buechele is going to be the starter. Cal, I think that Josh Rosen has really not blossomed there. We thought he was going to.
He isn't who we thought he was going to be, and that's for UCLA, you mean?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. UCLA.
Cal also lost a quarterback, too, in Davis Webb. They're also, and that's the thing. The road is paved, in my mind, for a possible, right now you said, Ricky, what's your Pac-12 title game? I'm going Huskies Trojans all day, every day, because Colorado I don't think is going to have the same type of successful season they had last year. UCLA will be good, but I don't think they will be good enough to outseed the Trojans in their side of the Pac-12. Texas, I think, is going to be better, but even a win against the Trojans doesn't affect the Pac-12 at all. And I think everybody else is kind of fighting for, if I want to beat the Trojans, it's not going to help our seeding. It's just going to be an amazing upset game. Am I saying the Trojans go undefeated? No, I think they will lose a game at least this season. But if Sam Darnold plays another 39-7 was that? Or was it 30? Whatever. If he has a ridiculous touchdown to interception ratio, this team could win every game. This team has the potential to win every game with Sam Darnold as the starter. The big question, and like you mentioned it, and it was 31-9, was the touchdown to interception ratio I was thinking of. The big question, and you kind of hit it. And the thing is, no one knows the answer for sure, but it's fun to kind of speculate on it. And I'll let you speculate first. If you had to put your money on it, do you think Sam Darnold comes out game one against Western Michigan and picks up right where he left off? Or do you think there'll be a little bit of, not like hesitancy, but a little bit of, okay, I got to get back into the mojo of things. I got to get my mojo going again. And then he starts clicking.
I think we're going to see a slow first half from him, but I think second half he racks up probably about 200 yards, pair of touchdowns, ends up having a nice day. That's just how I think it's going to be for him to get going. But you take a look at when he was the starter last year, when he was full-time starter last season, it started in October. No, it started at the end of September. But in October, Arizona State, not even close. Colorado, close. They won. Arizona, not close. Cal, not close. Oregon, not close. Washington, if you want to count 13 points, is close. UCLA, not close. Notre Dame, not close. None of these games are close games. Now,
except for Penn State, who was trying to prove a point.
Penn State was a close game in the Rose Bowl. Great game. Washington, again, like I said, 13 points if you could consider that to be close. And then Colorado, they won by 4. Everything else, not close. When Sam Darnold, for the most part, was under center, they lost 31-27 to Utah. I think in his first game as the starter, he didn't throw a touchdown or an interception in that game. He threw for 253 yards. They lost 31-27, but that's him just kind of getting the first feel as the starter. And then after that, not another loss.
And the reason why I'm going to kind of back you when you keep saying 13 points, if you want to consider that close, is because up until the third quarter, that first half was all Trojans. It was 17-6 going into halftime when it was the Trojans and the Huskies. Then Jake Browning hit John Ross for a huge touchdown, got it within 4, but then the fourth quarter happened and a big Darnold touchdown and then a safety kind of sealed the game for him. The thing that I'm going to ask you kind of to wrap everything up is, should Trojan fans feel like, because of what you said, you were kind of running through the games with Darnold last year, should USC fans kind of feel, I'm going to say a little bit, should they have the same kind of mojo that Alabama fans have coming into every season? Should they come into this one like, hey, we basically blew everyone out except for a few teams with Darnold last year. We're going to win them all this year and go to the playoff. Book it. Trojans in the college football playoff. Should they have that kind of confidence coming into this season just because Darnold is their starting quarterback?
If you are the USC Trojans, I would be extremely excited about this next season. Extremely excited. Because you guys have one solid quarterback who played extremely well last season. You lose some pieces on the offensive line, but you hope that you are still going to be able to have the, I would say, the veteran presence that Darnold gave you as a freshman. If I'm USC fans, I'm really excited. I think this team is still going to be really good. I think that it continues to get better. I think that they have a strong head coach. I think that USC football is not a team that can really be down for long. And they weren't. They were only down for the beginning of last season. Then they did not lose again. If I'm a USC fan, I am very excited for the 2017 season.
I would say the same thing. First off, looking at the schedule, kind of my final thoughts on it. Western Michigan, yeah, they gave teams a run for their money last year, but guess what? Road to Boat ain't going to be the same without PJ Fleck. PJ Fleck was the motor behind that team, and they're going to take a step back this year. Stanford and Texas, yeah, those are tough games. Stanford might be the team to upend you if I'm going to put my money on anybody on this regular season schedule. Texas is a wait and see. We're going to talk about them in a little bit. Are they going to be that much better with Tom Herman and with maybe a Shane Buechele starting the entire season? Cal loses Davis Webb. They need someone to step up. Washington State, Oregon State, Utah, Notre Dame, Arizona State, Arizona. I don't think any of those teams come close, with Notre Dame being the asterisk. Like you said, we don't know what Notre Dame. Can they flip a switch? Can Brian Kelly get the team back on track? Or is this the year where we say, hey, maybe Brian Kelly should be fired? Then I look at the last two. Colorado losing a quarterback might be enough for Darnold to get things going. But the interesting thing about November is by that time, whoever is kind of taken over the slots is comfortable there. So that's why I look at Colorado. Although I think USC would get the win at this point, it's one of those things where by that time Colorado could be developed into, hey, we can beat this team. And I think the best game on this schedule will be that November 18th game against UCLA, because I really do think that Josh Rosen in both ears is just going to hear about how good Sam Darnold is on the other side of LA. Oh, he's the best quarterback. Going to be the number one pick. Yeah, he's going to be the number one pick. But how about Josh Rosen? I don't know. What do you think? That's what he's going to hear all day. I wish I had my Mankind. I had Sacco, because I was talking to Sacco there. He's going to hear that, and I think Josh Rosen's going to come out angry for that one. Angry. Am I saying UCLA gets the win? No, but I'm saying it's going to be a great game. And then, oh, guess what? The possibility of Darnold and Browning going at it in the Pac-12 title game. This could be one of the most exciting seasons we see in the Pac-12 for some time. Brandon might actually stay up late for some Pac-12 games this year. Well, you think?
I'll tell you what, is that I think that Josh Rosen doesn't need any more reasons to play better. I mean, especially if that chatter doesn't get you up wanting to try and play better, nothing's going to. And again, UCLA has one more chance with this guy. One more chance. He's done.
Yep.
After this year, he ain't coming back. So you better help him out this season, because he has not come out to be the guy that we thought he would be. But some guy who is looking like he is going to be pretty darn good is that guy on the other side of town in LA.
Sam Darnold. There's probably, if he has, like I said, a great season this year, book it. He'll be the number one pick. Some team will be very happy drafting him number one overall. Probably the Cleveland Browns, because they'll probably be there again. Hey, could be the New York Jets. They kind of suck too. But we're going to turn the question on to you guys. What do you guys think? Can Sam Darnold lead the Trojans to the playoff this season? What do you think? Are Trojan fans, I want to hear from you. Are you kind of nervous that, you know what? This has happened with Barkley in the past. I am honestly nervous that this might happen again. Let me know if you are or are even thinking about that down below in the comment section.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed a lot of emotion. If you want more, click this video right over my left shoulder. You will certainly not regret it.